Beloved child, before you try to step quickly into a new chapter, I want you to learn how to remain with me in every ordinary breath. It is not only when storms arise that you should come to me. Not only when your heart is exhausted that you should remember you have a refuge. But even when the morning opens quietly, when familiar tasks await you, when you must choose between many unclear directions, know that I am still there. I do not want to be a guest who visits your life for a few emotional moments and then leaves. I want to dwell within you, walk with you, and speak to you through the deep peace that the world cannot counterfeit. As Psalm 16:11 reveals, in your presence is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. Therefore, my presence is not a religious burden, but the source of life that causes your soul to cease being dry and barren. When you learn to live near me as naturally as breathing, you will no longer feel as though you have been thrown into life alone, because each of your days is surrounded by the Father's hand. But to enter that life, you must let me remove from your shoulders the things you have carried for too long. There are memories that once wounded you, but because you became accustomed to holding them in your heart, they gradually became like an old garment you wore over your identity. You called it experience, caution, a way of protecting yourself. But I see within it layers of fear, shame, and self-condemnation that are making your steps heavy. I am not telling you to deny what happened, because true healing is not built upon pretending that the wound never existed. But I will not allow the past to sit on the throne of your future. As Isaiah 43:18-19 reminds you, forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. Say, I am doing a new thing, not because I take your tears lightly, but because I know those tears are not the end. What once caused you to lower your face will not forever have the right to name you. Remember Joshua, the high priest, in the vision of the prophet Zechariah. He stood before me in filthy garments, and the accuser stood beside him to accuse him. But I rebuked the accuser, then commanded that the filthy garments be removed from him, and that clean robes be placed upon him. As Zechariah 3 recounts, do you see, before Joshua could stand in his sacred office, I dealt with the garment of disgrace upon him. I did not allow accusation to have the final word. I did not see him through the stain, but through the cleansing I gave. You, too, have worn invisible garments for far too long, the garment of disappointment, the garment of rejection, the garment of I am not good enough, the garment of I will always be this way. Today I call you to stand still before me, so I may remove them. You do not cleanse yourself by your own strength. It is my grace that covers you with new dignity. Therefore, begin to see yourself in the light of heaven. Do not let the words others once spoke become the mirror of your life. Do not let one season of failure become a sentence over your entire journey. Do not let old brokenness persuade you that you are only a lacking soul who must live, begging the world for scraps of acceptance. When you belong to me, you do not need to plead for worth from places that do not know how to love you rightly. As Isaiah 43:1 declares, I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. And this word I place upon you is deeper than every label from the past. One who knows they are loved by the Father no longer has to perform to be recognized, no longer has to strain to be kept, no longer has to live in fear that if they grow weak for even a moment, love will leave them. My love is not as fragile as human love. It is stronger than your fear, deeper than your wound, and more faithful than everything you once leaned on, only to find it changed. And as you walk in that truth, you will begin to realize that the new chapter I am opening is not merely an escape from pain, but the forming of an entirely different life from within. I do not only want you to stop crying, I want you to learn how to laugh again with a joy that no longer needs pretending. I do not only want you to stop being pulled backward by the past, I want you to move forward with a renewed mind and a heart that knows how to trust. As 2 Coríntios 5:17 declares, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. And this is not some distant promise, but the work I am doing within you day by day. Perhaps that renewal begins very quietly, a gentler response, a fear that no longer rules you as it once did, a more honest prayer, a morning when you awaken and realize your heart no longer feels as heavy as it did yesterday. Do not despise those small signs. Dawn always begins with a thin line of light before the entire sky changes color. I also want you to understand that the freedom I give does not mean you will never remember the old things again, but that the old things no longer have the authority to control you. The memories may still visit, but they no longer sit in the seat of the master. You may still feel an ache when something familiar touches your heart, but now you know how to bring that ache into my presence instead of allowing it to drag you into darkness. As Hebrews 12:1 teaches, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race set before us. Because some burdens are not always obvious evils. Sometimes they are old sorrows, old defenses, old ways of thinking that you have carried for so long you no longer realize how deeply they exhaust you. Give them to me, not once with your lips while secretly taking them back into your heart, but day by day, layer by layer, memory by memory, fear by fear, until my hands teach you how to become light again. Beloved child, I am building within you a new foundation of peace, not the kind of peace that depends on everyone understanding you, every plan unfolding according to your wishes, or every door opening at the exact moment you desire. The peace I give runs deeper than that. It is the steadiness of one who knows they are being led even when they cannot yet see the whole road ahead, the rest of one who knows their father has not fallen asleep during the journey, the ability to hope even while some flowers have not yet bloomed. As Psalm 121:7 declares, the Lord shall preserve you from all evil. He shall preserve your soul. And I want you to let that word stand guard over your heart. The upheavals of the world may touch the circumstances around you, but they do not have the right to define your soul when you are in me. Your identity is not found in what you lost, but in the one who still holds you. Therefore, step into this new chapter with open hands. Do not carry the old garment simply because it feels familiar. Do not hold on to fear merely because it once helped you protect yourself. Do not allow yesterday's tears to make you doubt the garden I am planting today within your heart. I can take those very tears and water the new ground inside you, so that the places once barren begin to bring forth life. The places once silent begin to sing again, and the places once bowed down begin to rise in dignity. Behold, I make all things new, as Revelation 21:5 proclaims, is the word I speak over you today. Let my presence become your breath, my peace become your foundation, my hope become your strength, and my love become the unquenchable light within your soul. I go before you to prepare the way, beside you to uphold you, within you to renew you, and behind you to close the doors that no longer have the right to call you back to the person you once were. Beloved child, what I desire for you to see is not only my hand touching outward circumstances, but my heart entering into the deepest place of human pain itself. I did not stand far away in heaven watching you struggle with sin, sickness, fear, wounds, and invisible burdens, while merely sending down cold words of comfort. No, I stepped into history through love clothed in flesh. I allowed myself to endure wounds, rejection, suffering, and loneliness, so that no sorrow of yours could ever claim that I do not understand. As Hebrews 4:15 reminds you, for we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses. And so, when you come to me, you are not coming to one who is unfamiliar with tears. You are coming to the one who bore wounds and still opened his arms wide, the one who walked through darkness in order to open a path for you into the light. Look to the cross, beloved child, but do not look with eyes that have merely grown familiar with the story through hearing it too many times. Look as though this is the first moment you truly understand that my love bent down so deeply that nothing within you could ever be considered too sinful, too stained, too broken, or too late to be touched. The wounds I carried were not the marks of defeat, but the doorway to restoration. When 1 Peter 2:24 says that he himself bore our sins in his body on the tree, so that we might die to sin and live for righteousness, and that by his wounds we are healed. Understand that the healing I give is not a vague idea, but something established upon the foundation of a love that paid the full price. I do not only forgive the sins you confess aloud, I also desire to touch the part of your soul wearied by shame, the part of your mind crushed beneath anxiety, and the part of your heart that has learned to shrink back in fear of being hurt once again. So often you think you must first become worthy before you can receive my restoration. You imagine you must pray long enough, believe strongly enough, live well enough, overcome enough, and only then will I look upon you with mercy. But beloved, grace is not wages given to the perfect. Grace is the gift that flows from the finished work I have already accomplished. When my Son declared upon the cross, "It is finished," as recorded in John 19:30, it was not the sigh of one who had failed, but the proclamation of the one who opened the door you could never open for yourself. What you need is not to save yourself by your own strength, for that very struggle has exhausted you for far too long. What you need is to open your heart, lay down self-condemnation, and allow my love to enter the places you once believed could only be hidden, never healed. There are wounds no human eye can see, yet I know how they have bent your soul for many years. There are memories that tighten your heart with only the slightest touch. There are words spoken by others that entered your mind like sharp thorns, causing you to live cautiously, afraid to trust, afraid to love, afraid to hope. There have been nights when your body lay still, yet your spirit kept running in endless circles without escape. I see all of it, beloved child, and when Psalm 103:2-3 calls the soul to bless the Lord, who forgives all iniquities and heals all diseases, those words are not speaking only of what can be seen outwardly. I am the one who heals at the root, the one who knows how to untie the deepest knots within the heart, the one who can soften a heart hardened by self-protection, and the one who can quiet a mind that has grown accustomed to living in constant alarm and fear. Remember Naaman, the Syrian commander, filled with honor and prestige, yet carrying leprosy within his body. He possessed power, position, victories, and servants. But beneath the garments of a mighty man was a defilement. He could not heal himself. When my word through the prophet Elisha instructed him to go down to the Jordan River and wash 7 times, he became angry because the instructions seemed too simple, too humble, too small compared to how he imagined a miracle should happen. Yet when he humbled himself and obeyed, his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, as the story in 2 Kings 5 reveals. Do you see? Beloved, sometimes healing does not come in the proud and dramatic form you expected, but through the humble path you must be willing to accept. I did not only heal Naaman's leprosy, I touched the pride that had kept him far from life itself. And with you, too. There are times when I heal, not by performing something grand before the eyes of others, but by inviting you to step down into the simple waters of obedience, where you release control and allow me to do what you could never do for yourself. Therefore, do not regard the invisible chains within you as something you must carry forever. I came to proclaim liberty to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed. As Luke 4:18 declares, some chains are called fear, some are called shame, some are called memories, some are called self-condemnation, and some are disguised as familiarity for so long that you no longer realize you are bound by them. But my power is not weaker than the years that have passed, nor helpless before wounds long carried, nor halted by the doors you have locked. I did not come merely to help you continue living inside a dark room decorated more beautifully. I came to lead you out, to teach you how to stand upright again, breathe again, hope again, love again, and walk as one who is truly free. Beloved child, I do not promise that your life will never again face trials, but I do promise that no trial has greater authority than the blood I shed for you. Darkness may roar, but it is not the master. The wound may be deep, but it is not deeper than my mercy. Condemnation may repeat the story of your past, but Colossians 2:14-15 declares that the record of debt standing against you has been erased, and the powers of darkness were disarmed at the cross. Let that truth rise within your heart. Do not kneel before what I have already defeated. Do not call yourself by the name I have removed from you. Do not live as though you still owe a debt to darkness when I have already paid the price for you to belong to the light. Today, bring to me your weary body, your troubled mind, your painful memories, your doubting heart, and the hidden parts of your soul you believe no one could ever understand. I am not repulsed by your brokenness. I am not surprised by the things you have not yet dared to speak aloud. I am your Father, your Redeemer, and the healer of your soul, as Philippians 1:6 reminds you. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. And so what I have begun within you will not be abandoned halfway through the journey. Look to the cross and receive this word, like oil poured upon your deepest wound. No darkness is greater than my light. No chain is stronger than my power. No wound is too deep for my love to enter, and no shattered soul is beyond my ability to raise up, restore, and cause to shine within the everlasting grace of my presence. Beloved child, there are moments when I see you walking through life with a calm face, with words insisting that you are fine, with an appearance as though everything remains under control, yet I also hear the quiet sigh of your soul. The sigh, unnoticed by the world, and sometimes ignored, even by you. You have grown accustomed to covering emptiness with work, accustomed to calling unrest mere exhaustion, accustomed to treating those nights when your heart grows heavy as something normal you must simply endure. But beloved, I did not create you merely to survive your days in silence. I placed within you a higher calling, a deeper light, an original image that sin, fear, and weary years could never erase. When your soul no longer walks in harmony with what I planted within you from the beginning, you will feel a subtle but persistent misalignment. Like an instrument whose strings remain intact, yet whose music is no longer pure. Therefore, when my word declares, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans for peace and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope," in Jeremiah 27:17, it is not merely a distant promise, but a reminder that your life is not a meaningless succession of days. You have a place to return to, a path prepared to guide you, and a sacred identity waiting to be awakened within you. Do not be afraid of the quiet stirrings rising within your heart. Beloved child, not every trembling is a sign that you are falling apart. Many times it is simply the way I gently shake the door of your inner being to remind you that you have remained too long inside the narrow room of old habits. Sometimes a careless word from someone leaves you suddenly silent. Sometimes an old dream returns and brings tears to your eyes. Sometimes you watch the evening light fade and, unexpectedly, feel yourself longing for something deeply sacred that you cannot even name. Those moments are not accidents. They are rays of light I allow to slip through the cracks in the walls you built to protect yourself. I do not tear down your soul with storms while you are still weak. I come like a whisper, like a gentle wind, like a hand resting upon the shoulder of a trembling child. Elijah did not encounter me in the violent wind, the earthquake, or the fire, but in the still small voice. And in the same way, I often call you not through noise that terrifies you, but through a tenderness that no longer allows you to pretend you have not heard me. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. In Revelation 3:20, is not the voice of an angry king pounding on the door, but the voice of a patient father waiting for you to open it from within. There is a story I want you to remember, not about dazzling victories upon battlefields, but about a young boy lying in the temple during the night. Samuel was still very young and did not yet fully understand my voice. But when I called his name in the darkness, he awoke. At first, he thought Eli was calling him, so he ran to the old priest. Yet that voice did not come from man, it came from me. Only the third time, when Eli instructed him to answer, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening," did Samuel step into the defining moment of his life. Do you see? Beloved child, many times I have called to you through what you dismissed as mere emotions, mere longing, or passing emptiness. You ran searching for answers in other people, for validation from the world, for outward voices to explain what was happening deep within you. But I want you to pause, to listen more deeply, and to answer me with a softened heart. Father, speak, for I am listening. When you dare to listen in this way, the darkness no longer becomes a place that frightens you, but the very place where my voice can be heard most clearly. The light within you, beloved child, has never been withdrawn by me. It may have been covered by the dust of disappointment, hidden beneath garments of fear, dimmed by compromises you once believed were necessary in order to be accepted. Yet what I placed within you does not disappear simply because you once lost your rhythm. When I declared, "You are the light of the world," in Matthew 5:14, I was not speaking to people who had never been weak, but to souls called to reflect my light within a world so easily consumed by darkness. You may have withdrawn into yourself because you feared being mocked, because you were once misunderstood, because you thought your light would make others uncomfortable. But a lamp is not lit so it may feel ashamed of its own brightness. It is placed where the weary may find their way, where the lonely may realize they have not been abandoned, where those wandering in the night may know that dawn is still real. You do not need to make a spectacle of yourself or strive to prove that you are special. You only need to stop burying what I have given you. True humility is not hiding the light, but allowing the light that belongs to me to shine through you with purity. Therefore, what you are feeling today is not an ending, but a call to awaken. I have not come to condemn you for the years you lived beneath what I called you to be. I have come to lead you back into a fuller life. Do not condemn yourself for lost time, because in my hands, even seasons that seem delayed can become fertile ground for growth. Awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give you light. From Ephesians 5:14 is the word I place before your soul today. Awaken, not with panic, but with faith. Return, not through fear, but through trust. Open the door, not because I force you, but because my love has waited for you too long upon the threshold. You do not need to take some great step to prove anything to me. You only need to take a sincere one. When you return to me, I will restore the broken rhythms within your heart, rekindle the lamp that has been hidden away, and teach you to live no longer as one merely surviving day by day, but as a beloved child who has been called by name, deeply loved, and created to carry the gentle light of heaven into the very place where you now stand. Beloved child, before you try to repair your life through your own strength, let me whisper this to you. I do not stand before you as one merely waiting to point out your failures, but as a father who sees his child exhausted from drifting away from the very source of life within. There are words I place into your soul not to wound you, but to awaken you. There are quiet stirrings that suddenly cause you to fall silent in the middle of an ordinary day, not because darkness is condemning you, but because light is calling your name from the deepest place within you. When my word declares, "Awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall shine upon you." In Ephesians 5:14. It is not the cold rebuke of condemnation, but the call of life to a soul that is still loved, still capable of restoration, still able to rise again through grace. I do not call you because I want you to feel ashamed of the seasons in which you slept. I call you because I know there is still a lamp within you that has not gone out, still a song that has not yet been sung, still a sacred part of you waiting to be awakened and brought back into harmony with me. For many days you have moved through life like someone merely fulfilling responsibilities, yet no longer truly living within each breath. You know how to smile at the proper moments, answer with the expected words, and complete the tasks that must be done. But beneath that ordinary surface there is a room within your heart that has remained silent for far too long. I see that silence. Beloved child, I see the part of your soul that once trembled before beauty, once wept before what was holy, once longed for something greater than the small comforts of ordinary life, now covered over by weariness, self-protection, and habits that no longer carry life within them. But you were not created to become an empty vessel wandering among humanity. I breathed life into you. I placed within you the capacity to love, to feel, to trust, and to shine. Therefore, when I declared, "I have come that they may have life, lost and have it more abundantly," in John 10, I was not merely promising you an existence that survives day by day, but a life so full that your heart would once again burn within my presence. Remember the prodigal son. Beloved child, he left his father's house with his inheritance in his hands. Believing freedom meant going far away. Believing true living meant following every untested desire. But when the laughter faded, when the feasts disappeared, when the friends were gone, he found himself among the pigs, hungry enough to long for the food given to the animals. It was in that lowest place that Scripture says he came to himself and remembered his father's house. Do you see? Beloved, returning begins not with some loud miracle, but with a moment when the soul realizes, "I do not belong here." And when he rose and returned, the father did not stand with folded arms, waiting to hear every apology before showing mercy. He ran to his son, embraced him, clothed him with a new robe, placed a ring upon his hand, and prepared a feast of celebration. In the same way, I do not wait for you to become perfect before receiving you. I wait only for you to sincerely turn your face back toward me. This son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. From Luke 15 is not merely the story of someone long ago. It is the story I desire to write once more upon your own soul. Therefore, do not fear returning to the deepest place within yourself, the place you have avoided because you believed only brokenness existed there. I am still present in that place. I was there during the years you hid yourself behind layers of strength. I was there when you told yourself you were fine, even though the slightest touch could have caused your tears to fall. I was there when you traded softness for the illusion of safety, when you remained silent for so long that even you began to forget the sound of your true voice. But, beloved child, that deepest place is not the graveyard of hope. It is the altar where I desire to rekindle the fire. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Declares Psalm 34:18. I am not repulsed by your weak places. I do not leave because parts of you remain unhealed, in the very places where you believe yourself least worthy. I desire to reveal my greatest tenderness. Perhaps you have forgotten who you were before fear gave you a new name, before words of rejection caused you to shrink inward, before wounds taught you to harden yourself so no one could touch your heart again, before you learned to live cautiously, weighing every emotion, hiding your light for fear of being misunderstood. But I have never forgotten. I remember you in my original intention. I remember you not through the seasons in which you wandered, but through the image I placed within you before you were even formed. As I declared to Jeremiah, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. In Jeremiah Sedu, Lima, you did not begin with your wounds. You began with my knowledge of you, with my love for you, with a sacred calling that could never be erased by years of confusion and darkness. Therefore, what I ask of you today is not that you build a perfect version of yourself to present before me. I do not need a holy mask upon your weary face. I want truth. I want your heart. I want you to open yourself, even if only by the smallest crack, so that my light may enter. A seed does not need to prove itself to be a mighty tree on the first day. It only needs to remain in the soil. Receive the rain, receive the sunlight, and allow life to quietly do its work. So it is with you. Restoration does not always begin with feelings of strength. Sometimes it begins with the softest whisper, Father, I want to come home. And when you speak those words, heaven does not despise your smallness. For I have declared, a bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out. In Isaiah 42:3, the flame within you may be weak, but in my hands it can still rise into fire again. Let me teach you how to live again, not through haste, but through daily returning. Learn to listen to your heart beneath the light of my presence rather than beneath the judgment of the world. Learn to feel without fearing, you will shatter. To love without fearing, you will lose yourself. To hope without fearing disappointment. When you return to me, you will also return to yourself in the purest way possible, because you can only truly know who you are when you are near the one who created you. I am still here. Beloved child, I do not change with the seasons of your weakness. I do not withdraw my love because you wandered away. I do not close the door because you returned late. The light within you is still waiting, not to burn by its own strength, but to be joined again to my fire. And when you place your hand into mine once more, I will revive what you thought was lost, rekindle what you thought had gone dark, and lead you out of a life that merely survives into the abundant, gentle, and holy life I prepared for you from the very beginning. Beloved child, true life often does not return to you with a great thunderclap, nor does it always enter your life through dazzling signs that leave everyone around you astonished. Many times it begins very small, so small that if you are rushing, you will overlook it, small like a breath that suddenly feels deeper. a ray of sunlight resting upon your hand, the sound of a bird singing in the morning, a quiet moment that unexpectedly brings tears to your eyes without your understanding why. Do not dismiss such things, for I often hide great invitations within the softest signs. When you stop running, not because you have become completely strong, but because something within you no longer wishes to flee anymore. That very moment becomes the place where I lay my hand upon your soul. I have declared, "Be still, and know that I am God." In Psalm 46:10. Because there are things you can only recognize when you stop allowing the noise of fear to drown out the gentle voice of life. You do not need to understand everything immediately. You only need not turn your back on the light that has come to visit you. And I will already be able to begin reopening within you the doors you believed had long been closed. There have been seasons when you believed you were completely drained, as though nothing remained within you except the cold ashes of hopes that once burned brightly. But I see deeper than what you feel. Beneath those ashes, I still see glowing embers. Within what you call exhaustion, I see a sacred longing still pleading for breath. When a gentle sound causes your heart to tremble, when the beauty of the sky leaves you silent, when something very ordinary suddenly becomes filled with meaning, these are not meaningless coincidences passing by. Creation is still speaking in my language. If only you are willing to listen with your soul and not merely with your ears. Ask the beasts, and they will teach you, the birds of the heavens, and they will tell you, as Job 12:7 reminds you, that the world around you is not silent. It carries the fingerprints of my hand. A tender leaf stretching forth after a season of drought can preach hope to you. A ray of dawn, faithfully breaking through the cracks of a window, can remind you that darkness never has the final word. Even a gentle breeze passing across your face can be my way of whispering, "Beloved child, you are still here, still loved, and still capable of living again." Remember the story of Hagar in the wilderness. Beloved child, she was not standing in a temple, nor in a place the world considered holy, nor hearing my voice during a grand ceremony. She was in the desert, exhausted and abandoned, placing her child at a distance because she could not bear to watch him die. To human eyes, it was a scene of ending, but to me, it became the place where my seeing love was revealed. The angel called to her in the wilderness, and I opened her eyes to see a well of water nearby. Do you see? Beloved, the source of life often does not come from somewhere far away. It is already near. But pain has blurred your vision. Hagar called me the God who sees her, because in her most desolate place she realized she had not been forgotten. In the same way, when you believe your soul has become dry and barren, I can open your eyes to see the well of grace standing in the very place you once called hopeless. I will open rivers on the barren heights and springs in the valleys. From Isaiah 41:18 is not only a promise for dry land, but for hearts that have gone too long without believing they could ever be refreshed again. Therefore, do not consider the moments when you stop and stand still to be weakness. The strongest person is not always the one who runs the fastest. Sometimes the bravest soul is the one willing to stop before the truth and no longer hide from the calling within. I do not place a door before you to make you afraid, but so you may know that your life has not been locked inside the past. There are doors that cannot be opened by force, nor by proving yourself worthy. They open when you stop resisting the light and allow your heart to become soft before me. Behold, I am doing a new thing, now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? In Isaiah 43:19 is the word I place upon your today. That new thing may begin with a very quiet decision, to stop denying your pain, to stop calling numbness peace, to stop living as though your soul does not need care. When you choose to stop and turn toward me, I do not ask why you arrived late. I simply extend my hand to lead you through the doorway of restoration. And beloved child, resurrection is not only about sealed tombs or lifeless bodies lying still. There are souls walking through life that have long grown cold. There are hearts still beating that no longer dare to hope. There are eyes still open that have stopped seeing the beauty of a new day. I am the one who called Lazarus out of the grave, but I am also the one who calls the lifeless places within you to come out of darkness. When I declared, I am the resurrection and the life, in John Elf, Archer Wu, those words were not only for the final day, but for every deep place within you even now. I can warm your heart little by little again, restore pure emotions, and cause faith to grow where once there was only doubt. Do not despise a trembling step. One step toward the light is still one step out of the tomb. Even the faintest prayer can cause heaven to lean near to you. Even a single honest tear can become the first drop of water falling upon the dry ground of your soul. Therefore, let the small things lead you back to me. Do not quickly dismiss the stirring within your heart as though it means nothing. Do not treat a moment of tenderness as a shameful weakness. Perhaps it is precisely there that I am touching you in the gentlest way. I do not require you to burst into flame immediately like a great fire before the eyes of others. I only ask that you place into my hands the smoldering wick that still remains, so that I may protect it and kindle it again. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not quench. In Matthew 12:20, bears witness to the way I treat fragile souls. I do not come to extinguish the remaining light within you, but to shield it from the cold winds of despair. Step forward. Even if the step is small, listen. Even if the call is faint, open your heart, even if only through the narrowest opening. For within the breath, you are still breathing. Within the heartbeat, still faithfully continuing. Within the small beauties that still move your soul. I am telling you that life has not departed from you. And as you guard that spark together with me, it will no longer merely smolder in darkness. It will grow warmer, brighter, and stronger, until one day you realize that what you once believed had died within you is being brought back to life through a love that never runs dry. Beloved child, do not force your soul to bloom in a single night, simply because the world measures growth by speed. The things that belong to me often grow in silence, like a seed hidden deep beneath the soil, where no one sees the roots stretching outward. Yet life is quietly at work. Healing is the same. Beloved, it is not a race for you to prove that you are finally fine. It is the journey of returning to truth little by little, through a very gentle kind of courage. Today you stop denying your pain. Tomorrow you dare to name what once frightened you. And another day you learn to release the bitterness that has become too heavy to carry. When I declare, He has made everything beautiful in its time. In Ecclesiastes 3:11, I want you to understand that even restoration has its seasons, its rhythms, and its silences that must be honored. Do not mistake slowness for failure. One small but sincere step before me is more precious than a loud transformation that never reaches the depths of the soul. Perhaps you have built many walls around your heart, not because you are cruel or cold, but because you were wounded and knew no other way to survive. I understand that. I have seen the moments when you promised yourself that no one would ever hurt you again. I have watched you learn to remain silent before rejection could come. Learn to smile before anyone asked how you truly were. Learn to stand at a distance so no one could see the places within you that still trembled. But beloved child, every wall built to keep pain from entering can also unknowingly keep love from reaching you. A heart locked away for too long may begin to think it is safe. Yet little by little, it forgets what it feels like to be embraced, listened to, and touched by grace. Therefore, when I lead you out from that place of self-imprisonment, I do not come like a destroyer tearing down walls in terror. I come like the good shepherd calling his sheep by name. For my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. As John 10:27 declares, I call you not to take away your refuge, but to bring you into a refuge far more real, the unchanging love of my presence. Remember Joseph, beloved child, the one betrayed by his own brothers, thrown into a pit, carried away into a foreign land, falsely accused, and imprisoned. If anyone had reason to build walls around his heart, it was Joseph. Yet during those dark years, I was not only leading him from prison to palace, I was doing a deeper work within his soul. And when the day came that his brothers stood before him trembling, afraid because their old sins had been uncovered, Joseph did not allow the past to rule his words. He said, You intended evil against me, but God intended it for good. In Genesis 50:20, do you see? Beloved, forgiveness does not mean calling evil good, nor does it erase the truth of the wound. Forgiveness is when you stop allowing old wounds to sit upon the throne of your soul. It is the key I place into your hands to unlock the prison bitterness has built within you. When you forgive, you are not releasing the past from responsibility. You are releasing yourself from its chains. And then, as you begin to look upon yourself without the eyes of condemnation, something very strange and beautiful will happen. The world around you may still contain the same old roads, the same familiar faces, the same responsibilities, yet you will no longer see them with the same eyes. Healing does not merely change your emotions, it purifies the way you see. In the past, someone's silence may have made you believe you were abandoned. A closed door may have convinced you that hope had ended. A slow and quiet day may have caused you to conclude that your life was going nowhere. But when my light touches the eyes within your soul, you will learn to distinguish between truth and fear, between waiting and rejection, between a silent season and a forgotten life. The lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is clear, your whole body will be full of light. In Matthew 6:22, speaks not only of the eyes that see outward forms, but of the deeper vision that determines whether your soul lives in light or in the shadows of doubt. Therefore, what I ask of you today is not perfection without cracks. I do not require you to come before me with a heart already arranged neatly, no longer trembling, no longer questioning, no longer hurting. I desire your presence. Be truly present in this moment. Do not run from your tears if tears need to fall. Do not quickly call your weariness weakness. Do not despise the sighs of your soul as though they are unworthy of being heard by me. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted. From Psalm 34:18 is the word I place beside you when you no longer have the strength to pretend to be strong. Remaining before me is not standing still in despair. It is the first act of faith. When you remain, I can touch what you usually hide. When you are honest, I can heal what you once renamed in order to avoid it. When you stop running, the light within you will finally have room to grow. Beloved child, continue walking forward, but do not walk with harshness toward yourself. There will be days when your heart feels lighter, and there will also be days when old wounds suddenly ache again. Do not let one weak day cause you to deny the entire journey of grace that has been carrying you. A child learning to walk is not despised by a loving father for stumbling. The father bends down, lifts the child up, and encourages another step. And I am even more gentle with you than that. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not quench. In Isaiah 42:3 is how I keep you during the moments when your light is still fragile. I do not extinguish what is weak. I shield it from the violent wind. I do not crush what is cracked. I pour grace into every fracture so that light may shine through it. And you will begin to realize that the more you walk in truth, the closer you draw to me. And the closer you draw to me, the more you rediscover yourself in the purest way. You are not your defenses. You are not the fears that once controlled you, nor are you the seasons in which you wandered. Shut yourself away, or remain silent for too long. You are the child I still call with love, the soul I still seek, the lamp I still desire to place upon a stand so it may shine with humility and gentleness. Therefore, let me turn the darkness before you into light. Just as I promised in Isaiah 42:16, let every small step taken in truth become part of the road home. Let forgiveness unlock the rooms that have long been sealed shut. Let your eyes be washed clean from fear, so you may no longer see life through wounds, but through grace. I have never left you, and the faint light still flickering within you is not too small for me. In my hands it is enough to guide you home, enough to warm your heart again, and enough to become the dawn of a new season you never dared believe could still belong to you. Beloved child, I see the quiet movements within your heart even before you have words to name them. I see the mornings when you awaken and no longer feel the same heaviness you once carried. I see the moments when you stand amid the rushing noise of life and suddenly remember how to breathe slowly again, how to place your hand upon your chest and realize, today, you are no longer being completely swept away by the things that once terrified you. I see the times when you wanted to react as you always did, but instead paused for a moment, listened for a moment, chose gentleness for a moment longer. Do not despise those small things, because many times miracles do not begin with great noise, but with a fragile peace quietly returning to the soul. When Psalm 23 says that I lead you beside green pastures and still waters, it is not merely a beautiful image meant to comfort you. It is the way I shepherd you. I do not drag you through valleys while your legs are still trembling. I do not force your heart to heal according to the hurried rhythm of the world. I lead you step by step, breath by breath, day by day, so that what is renewed within you is not merely your outward appearance, but the deepest places you once believed had become dry and barren forever. And as you begin to be lifted up in this way, your eyes will also begin to change. Before, you may have passed by the pain of others without noticing it, not because you were heartless, but because you yourself were still trying to survive inside your own dark room. But when I touch your wounds with mercy, you will learn to look at others with a tenderness you did not have before. You will hear the weariness hidden behind an ordinary sentence. You will recognize the loneliness behind a smile that seems strong. You will see souls wandering in the middle of a crowd, standing very close to despair, needing a gentle word to know they have not been abandoned. And then you will understand what is written. God is the Father of mercies and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our tribulation, that we may be able to comfort others. In 2 Coríntios 3-4, the comfort I give you will not remain trapped within you like a blocked stream. It will flow through you, gently watering the dry places around you. Remember Peter, beloved child. He once said he would follow me even to death. But when darkness fell and fear surrounded him, he denied me 3 times. The rooster crowed, and he went out and wept bitterly. If the story had ended there, Peter might have called himself by the name of failure for the rest of his life. But I did not allow his tears to become the grave of his destiny. After I rose again, I met him by the sea, not using condemnation to crush him, but asking with love, "Do you love me?" And when he was restored, I entrusted him with a mission, feed my sheep. Before that, I had also said to him, "When you have returned, Strengthen your brothers. In Luke 22:32. Do you see? The very man who once trembled in fear became one who strengthened many other souls. A wound placed in my hands no longer remains proof of shame. It becomes the place where grace learns to speak with the voice of compassion. Therefore, do not think that the years you wept in silence were meaningless. I counted every tear no one else saw. You number my wanderings, put my tears into your bottle. As Psalm 56:8 says, because before me, no tear falls to the ground forgotten. There were nights you thought were only loss, but I used them to widen your heart. There were moments when you collapsed because you had no strength left. But it was there you learned that true strength is not never being weak, but knowing how to take my hand when you cannot stand on your own. There were seasons when you thought you were delayed, but I was planting within you a depth of understanding that those who have never passed through sorrow do not easily possess. One day, you will sit beside someone who is breaking, and you will not need many words. The peaceful presence within you will be enough to make them feel there is a way out. You will speak without judgment. I understand. I have been through that dark place too. And you will point them to me, not as a distant theory, but as the one who truly lifted you up. The light within you, beloved child, is not diminished when you share it. A candle that lights another candle does not lose its flame. It simply makes the room less dark. When I declared, "You are the light of the world," in Matthew 5:14, I did not call you to become light through pride, nor did I tell you to stand on high so the world would praise you. I called you to become a gentle witness of what I have done within your heart. That light does not come from your perfection, but from my presence living within you. It shines through the way you become more patient with the weak, softer toward those who are difficult to love, quieter in moments when you could boast, and steadier when others need somewhere to lean. You do not need to make your life a stage. Let your life become a lamp placed where it belongs, warm enough for the cold to draw near, bright enough for the lost to see that there is still a way home. Therefore, continue walking in this quiet restoration. Do not become impatient because you have not yet become everything you hope to be. Do not deny your progress simply because it does not appear dazzling in the eyes of the world. I see every new sprout growing within you. I see peace returning like a small stream finding its way through cracked ground. I see compassion rising from the very places that once were wounds. I see the light within you awakening. Not for you to keep only for yourself, but so that one day it may become an invitation for other souls. Remember that I waste nothing you place into my hands, not your tears, not your long nights, not your failures, not even your trembling steps. All of it, within my grace, can be redeemed and transformed into a source of life. And when you look back, you will understand that I did not heal you merely so you could find peace. I also made you into a sign of hope, a small yet steadfast lamp, a living testimony that my love can find you in darkness and lead you into a light that never fades. Beloved child, there are callings that do not sound like thunder. Yet if you continue to dismiss them, one day you will realize they were more precious than all the loud noises the world ever offered you. I do not call you through threats, nor do I come near you as one who delights in seeing you tremble with fear. I call you through love. But true love does not always lull you to sleep in comfort. Sometimes love must awaken you before darkness causes you to forget the way home. You do not know which moment may be the last in which your heart remains soft enough to hear, your eyes clear enough to recognize, and your soul sensitive enough to respond. Therefore, when my word declares, today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. In Hebrews 3:15, I am not placing before you a cold warning, but a lamp beside the edge of delay. The greatest danger is not that you do not yet understand everything, but that you assume there will always be another day to return, another season to change, another opportunity to speak, the obedience you continue postponing today. I have seen the moments when your soul trembled quietly, even though you tried to dismiss them as passing emotions. Sometimes, in the middle of an ordinary day, you suddenly felt your heart grow heavy, as though an unseen hand rested gently upon your chest. Sometimes everything outwardly seemed calm, yet within you rose an unrest you could not explain. Sometimes a single sentence, a verse of scripture, a glance, a quiet night, or a tear without clear reason caused you to stop for a moment. Beloved child, these are not meaningless fragments of emotion. They are the moments when I gently touched the door of your heart. I declared, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him." In Revelation 3:20. But beloved, a knock can be drowned out by the noise of life if you remain endlessly distracted. An invitation can pass by if you keep telling yourself it is not yet strong enough to deserve your attention. And a heart does not become hardened in a single day, but through many moments when it chooses to ignore the light. Remember Felix, beloved child, the governor who heard Paul speak about righteousness, self-control, and the coming judgment. The words struck him deeply enough that he became afraid, because somewhere within himself, he knew this was not merely an ordinary conversation. Yet, instead of humbling himself before the truth, he answered, "Go away for now, when I find it convenient. I will call for you again." Do you see? He did not immediately reject the call, nor openly despise it. He simply postponed it. He placed awakening into another day, another circumstance, another moment he imagined would be more convenient. Yet many souls drift far away not because they once shouted a loud no, but because they whispered later too many times. I tell you this not to frighten you, but so you may understand that delay can wear the clothing of wisdom while secretly becoming a quiet net that binds the soul. Seek the Lord while he may be found, call upon him while he is near. As Isaiah 55:6 reminds you, because there are moments when grace draws especially close to you, and you must learn to treasure them. There are times when I call you through gentleness, through a tender longing rising within your heart, through the desire to live more purely, to return home, to stop running away. But if you continue covering that call with excuses, with busyness, with quiet reassurances that there is no need to hurry, then the urgency will grow stronger, not because my love has changed, but because you are drawing closer to the place where delay can become a habit, and habit can become a chain. When I declare, return to me with all your heart, with fasting, with weeping, and with mourning. In Joel 2:12, I am not demanding tears in order to wound you. I am inviting you to return with a heart that is honest, unmasked, no longer delaying, no longer bargaining with darkness. Some wounds are healed only when you stop calling them small things. Some roads change direction only when you dare to admit you are wandering far away. Some doors open only when you stop standing outside saying that tomorrow will be the day you finally enter. I know you have already felt this. The moments when your heartbeat suddenly quickened. The times when your thoughts were interrupted by a deeper question. Where is my life truly going? The moments when you laughed with others while inwardly hearing a quiet whisper. You cannot continue living this way forever. That is not shameful weakness, nor is it a sign that you are losing control. It is the part of life within you that refuses to die numb. It is the smoldering wick asking to be protected by my hand. It is your conscience, your soul, the sacred calling trying to pull you out of the dangerous sleep of familiarity. Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour. In Matthew 25:13 is not only about some distant final day, it also speaks to every moment today. When you stand between the choice to keep hiding or to return to me with the full truth of your heart. Therefore, beloved child, do not wait until everything shatters before you begin to listen. Do not wait until your soul has become completely dry before seeking the living water. Do not allow familiarity with darkness to rob you of the ability to recognize light. I am still calling you, and the very fact that you can still feel that urgency is itself a great grace. Return today, not with panic, but with humility. Speak to me with words that are honest and bare. Father, I have delayed for too long, but I no longer want to turn away. And when you speak this way, I will not close the door before you. I will receive you like the father who ran to embrace the returning son. I will wash the dust of the road from your feet. I will teach you how to recognize my voice among every noise. I will restore strength to the places within you that you thought had grown too weak to live again. But hear me with this solemn love. Do not despise today. Today is the place where grace is touching you. Today is the doorway standing open. Today is the heartbeat still beating, the breath still being given, the light still calling your name. Step forward, beloved, before delay once again disguises itself as normal life and quietly leads you farther away. Beloved child, there are burdens that do not arise from outward circumstances, but rise from the deepest places within you like a quiet bell, warning that your soul has drifted far from the waters of peace. You may sit in a familiar room, hear the same sounds, look upon the same faces, yet inwardly feel a strange emptiness, a tension and heaviness that reason alone cannot explain. Do not rush to condemn yourself as weak, and do not quickly cover it over with pleasant-sounding words. Some inner stirrings are not meant to frighten you, but to draw you back to truth. I declared, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives." In John 14:27, because true peace is not a thin layer of outward calm, but a deep steadiness anchored in me. And when you drift from that source, your soul will recognize it long before your lips are willing to admit it. Many times you have tried to give your unrest gentler names, as though changing the name could somehow erase the fracture beneath it. You told yourself it was only a tiring day, a stressful season, a passing emotion that would fade away. But beloved child, truth does not disappear simply because you cover it with a soft cloth. I do not say this to wound you, but to free you from the habit of soothing yourself with things that no longer carry life within them. There are seasons that have already ended, yet you still try to live as though they remain unchanged. There are paths I no longer desire for you to walk, yet you continue clinging to them because they feel more familiar than change itself. My word teaches you to put off the old self and to put on the new self in Ephesians 4:22-24, not as an invitation to merely decorate the surface of your life, but as a call to step into transformation at the deepest root. The old is not always outwardly evil in appearance, but if it keeps you distant from the new thing I am doing, then it is no longer where you belong. Remember Jacob at the ford of Jabbok. Beloved child, he had lived for many years through striving, fear, and running away. He had family, possessions, and people following him. Yet, when night came and he had to face tomorrow, his soul could no longer hide. It was there, in that darkness, that he wrestled with me until dawn. He did not walk out of that night as the same man. He carried a wound in his hip, but he also received a new name, Israel. Do you see? Beloved, sometimes I allow you to enter a night where pretending is no longer possible. Not to destroy you, but to bring an end to the version of yourself that has lived too long in fear. Jacob did not lose everything in that night. He lost the old mask and received back his true identity. In the same way, when a heaviness within you forces you to stop, it may not be a sign of ending, but the threshold where I am preparing to place upon you a new name, a new life, a new way of walking before me. You once believed the light within you had grown dim because the world had become too dark. But many times it is not the darkness outside that has grown stronger. It is that you have drifted away from the place where light is nourished. When you live too long, through reaction, through self-protection, through lifeless cycles, you gradually forget what it feels like to truly live from within. You still work, still laugh, still accomplish what must be done. Yet the sacred vitality inside you has slowly been replaced by a cold routine. I do not condemn you for becoming weary. I do not turn my face away because the lamp within you has weakened. I simply do not want you to mistake numbness for peace. My soul waits silently for God alone. From Him comes my salvation. In Psalm 62, one reminds you that true rest is not the absence of feeling, but being placed again into the hands of the one who has the power to save and heal. Therefore, when you feel an invisible heaviness pressing upon your heart, bring it before me, instead of hiding behind comforting explanations. Speak honestly to me that you are restless, dry, and becoming unfamiliar even to yourself. I do not require perfect prayers from you. I desire an honest heart. I have promised, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. In Ezekiel 36:26, you cannot soften your own heart through willpower alone, but you can place it into my hands. You cannot illuminate every dark place within you merely through determination, but you can open the door so that my light may enter. What I desire to do within you is not simply to repair a few outward habits. I want to lead you back to the very place where life itself begins. Do not be afraid to admit that some things are no longer as they once were. Sometimes grace begins at the very moment you stop clinging to a false sense of stability. When you dare to say, "Father, this is no longer whole within me," then I can begin rebuilding something deeper than what you lost. If anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. In 2 Corinthians 5:17 does not mean you deny the past, but that you no longer allow the past to rule your future. You do not become new by pretending the old was never broken. You become new when you place those broken pieces into my hands and allow me to shape something your own strength could never restore. I am still near you, even when you feel you have wandered far away. The dimness within you does not cause me to lose sight of you. Your fragile peace does not disappoint me. I am simply calling you back. Not back to an exhausted version of yourself, but back to me, so that you may be born again into a deeper life. Listen to that unrest as an invitation, not as a sentence. Let it lead you toward prayer, toward truth, toward surrender, toward the humble decision that you no longer wish to live inside the shell of false stability. I will not leave you to walk alone. I will turn the places of turmoil within you into streams of peace, transform nights of wrestling into dawns of new identity, and cause the light you thought was fading to burn again with a flame that is purer, deeper, and more enduring within my presence. Beloved child, I want you to pause deeply before what is happening within your heart. You are still capable of being moved. That is more precious than you realize. A soul that has completely shut down no longer aches before emptiness, no longer startles at silence, no longer wrestles when light touches hidden corners. But you still feel you still recognize that something within you is speaking, even if the voice is weak, fragmented, and often buried beneath years of weariness. That is not your failure, it is the trace of life itself. When my word declares, a smoldering wick he will not quench. In Isaiah 42:3, I want you to understand that I do not despise the small flame still remaining within you. What you think is only a little unrest, a slight ache, a quiet tightening in your chest without a name, is often the very place where I am preserving your soul from falling into a deeper sleep. I know you did not turn away because your heart desired to rebel against me. I know that many times you were simply too tired to face any more pain, too exhausted to reopen rooms long shut, too accustomed to living in ways that kept you from touching the truth. Some people run because of pride, but others run because they are wounded. I can tell the difference. Beloved child, I do not mistake your hidden tears for coldness. I do not mistake your silence for rejection. But precisely because I love you, I do not want you to remain forever inside a false refuge where you believe you are safe simply because you no longer feel deeply anymore. The truth shall set you free. In John 8:32 is not merely a comforting promise for outward appearances. It is the sword of light that cuts through the soft yet dangerous chains that have kept you trapped in avoidance for too long. Therefore, do not rush to dismiss that heaviness as though it were merely an inconvenience. Not every unrest comes to destroy you. Some unrest is the alarm bell of grace, calling you out of a life that is slowly growing numb. If a house is filled with smoke, the fire alarm is not the enemy of those inside. It sounds loudly, so they still have time to come out alive. In the same way, the stirring within your heart may be telling you that you have remained too long in an atmosphere that no longer nourishes life. When I declare, guard your heart above all else, for from it flow the springs of life. In Proverbs 4:23, I am not only warning you against outward evil, but teaching you how to listen to the quiet signals within. A heart that can still warn you is a heart that has not died. A soul that still aches at falsehood is a soul still searching for the way back to the light. You are learning a very important discernment. Beloved child, not every silence is peace. There is a holy stillness in which you rest within me, like a child who has stopped crying because they know they are held in the Father's arms. But there is also a silence heavy as stone, where the true voice within is buried, where you no longer pray because you believe no one hears, no longer weep because you think tears are useless, no longer hope because you fear hope itself will only wound you again. The rest that comes from me always makes your heart brighter, softer, and more honest. Numbness, however, only draws you farther away from yourself. Therefore, when Psalm 46:10 declares, "Be still and know that I am God," that stillness does not lead you into emptiness, but into deeper knowing. If your silence causes you to forget me, forget truth, or forget your own worth, then that is not the place where I desire you to remain. Remember the valley of dry bones that I showed to Ezekiel. Before him was not a garden merely weakened by sickness, but a valley filled with bones long dried out, an image that seemed entirely without hope. Yet I asked him, "Son of man, can these bones live?" And then I commanded him to speak my word over them, "O dry bones, hear the word of the Lord." In Ezekiel 38:8. Do you see? Beloved, I do not speak only to what is still green and flourishing. I also speak to the places that have become so dry the world believes they can never live again. When my breath entered them, bone joined to bone, flesh and sinew were restored, and a living army rose to its feet. Therefore, if there is still even the faintest part within you capable of hearing. Do not call yourself finished. A dry valley can still become the place where life rises again when my word is received. You fear that the emptiness you feel is proof that I have gone far away. But I speak to you with gentle seriousness. The very fact that you still ache because of the distance means you still recognize the presence your soul longs for. One who has completely grown accustomed to darkness no longer remembers how light once warmed them. But you still remember. You still feel the absence. You still cannot find complete rest within the shell of ordinary living. That is grace still at work within you. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says. In Revelation 2:7, was not spoken only to crowds long ago. Those words are bending down toward you today. The ears of the soul do not hear merely through sound, but through stirring, through longing, through a holy unrest that refuses to let you continue sleeping within what is drawing you away from me. Therefore, bring both your trembling and your emptiness before me. Do not wait until your heart feels completely clear before you pray. Do not wait until you are no longer confused before you open the door. Come in the truest condition you are in, because I am not unfamiliar with trembling souls. I have declared, I will never leave you nor forsake you. In Hebrews 13:5. And that promise is not canceled because you have passed through seasons of silence. Tell me that you can still hear, even if the sound is very faint. Tell me that you do not want to extinguish the final signal of life still remaining within you. When you do this, the door that has not yet closed will open wider. My breath will enter the dry places more deeply, and the frightening silence within you will gradually be transformed into holy rest. I am still here. Beloved child, if you can still recognize the call, if your heart can still be moved, if you still desire to return even through the weakest longing, then the light has not yet left you. Guard that light together with me, and I will cause it to grow until the places within you that once felt heavy become a temple filled with living peace. Beloved child, I do not call you back in order to plant terror within you, as though every door has already been shut. Nor do I want you to tremble like someone being hunted by the ghosts of your own past. Fear may startle you for a moment, but it has no power to heal you. It only causes you to shrink inward, to hide your face, and to believe that because you delayed, I must no longer be patient with you. But I want you to understand my heart rightly. I awaken you not to push you into despair, but to lead you out of the dangerous sleep of delay. The awakening I give is not a cold blade pressed against the throat of your soul, but a lamp lit in the night so that you may see the road home. The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in loving kindness. As Psalm 03:8 declares, and that love is not so fragile that it disappears because of a moment of weakness within you. Yet you must also understand that grace is not given so you may continue sleeping. Grace is given so you may have the courage to rise and walk in the light. There may have been moments when you heard words about judgment, justice, and the responsibility of the soul, and your heart suddenly grew cold because you imagined I was waiting for an opportunity to punish you. No, beloved child, my justice is not an angry fire hiding in darkness, waiting to devour you. Justice is truth, refusing to be distorted. Light, refusing to call darkness dawn. Holiness, refusing to endlessly ignore a heart that deliberately hardens itself. I do not want you to walk toward such a place. I want you to return before avoidance becomes habit, before habit becomes chains, before you learn how to live without even feeling the pain of distance from me anymore. Therefore, when Scripture says, "Behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation." In Dois Corinthians says, Dois. Those words are not meant to suffocate you with pressure, but to open before you a sacred moment. Today, you can still respond. Today, you can still turn around. Today, your heart can still tremble at the sound of my voice. You were right to sense that every time you ignored the call, the distance within your heart grew a little longer. Not because I moved away from you first, but because your heart began to grow accustomed to walking away from the light. A call ignored too many times may begin to sound quieter in your ears. Not because I have stopped loving you, but because you have allowed too much noise to cover the sensitivity of your soul. Yet, beloved child, hear another truth as deep and gentle as this one. Every time you return, even if your steps are clumsy, even if your prayer is choked with tears, even if you come before me, ashamed and uncertain where to begin, that very step already breaks the direction of the old path. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Let him return to the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him. As Isaiah 55:7 promises, I do not measure your return by how impressive it appears outwardly. I look at the heart. One sincere step toward me is more precious than 1,000 grand promises still standing motionless in darkness. Remember King Manasseh, beloved child, a man who wandered so far that others may have believed there could never again be a road back for him. He committed great evil, raised false altars, led his people into darkness, and turned his throne into a place resisting holiness itself. But when he was bound in chains, carried away in humiliation, when every outward glory was stripped from his shoulders, he humbled himself and cried out to me, and I heard him. 2 Chronicles 33 tells how, in his distress, he sought me, humbled himself greatly before me, and I was moved by his prayer and brought him back again to Jerusalem. Do you see? Beloved, I do not tell you this story so you may take sin lightly or continue delaying. I tell it so you may know that no darkness has the authority to speak the final word over a soul that truly humbles itself and returns. Even the one who has gone very far can still be found by mercy. But that returning must be real, not a passing sentence, spoken merely to soothe the conscience while continuing to live unchanged. Therefore, beloved child, do not cling to the fear that you have lost everything, but neither soothe yourself with the illusion that tomorrow will surely be more convenient than today. Wisdom is found in remaining awake without falling into despair, trembling before holiness while still trusting in mercy, taking responsibility for your choices without allowing old sins to define your identity forever. The kindness of God leads you to repentance, as Romans 2:4 reminds you. And my gentleness is not indulgence, it is the path leading you out of the place where you were never meant to remain. If there is even the smallest thought beginning to awaken within you that you cannot continue living the old way, do not extinguish it. That may be the seed of a new season. That may be the first knock after a long silence you thought would never break. That may be the very place where life begins breathing again within you. I do not require you to come before me with a perfect speech. I do not demand that you fully understand the theology of pain, grace, and justice before you are allowed to step into my embrace. Come with the simplest truth your heart can speak. Father, I do not want to remain far away anymore. A single sentence like that, when it rises from sincerity, can open what years of self-justification never could. You may come while your heart is still trembling, while your eyes are still wet with tears, while you still do not know how everything in your life can possibly be restored. I will teach you step by step. I will show you what must be released, what must be faced, what must be reordered, what must be touched by light. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. As Philippians 1:6 declares, I do not abandon the work. I begin within a heart willing to open itself. Therefore, beloved child, Take hold of this moment, not with panic, but with faith, not with self-condemnation, but with pure repentance, not with the terror that this is your final warning, but with the holy realization that today itself is a gift. The fact that you still recognize your need to change is grace. The fact that your heart still aches at the sound of "my call" is grace. The fact that some small part of your soul still longs to return is grace holding you back from drifting farther away. Walk toward me in the light you already have. I do not stand far away waiting for you to crawl through darkness alone. I come to meet you on the road home, and when you take that first step into truth, I will cause fear to fade within love, hesitation to give way to obedience, and the place you once believed was an ending to become the beginning of a life led by mercy, holiness, and peace that never runs dry. Beloved child, do not rush to conclude that your path has been nothing more than a meaningless circle simply because it has not been straight, fast, or easy to explain to the world around you. There are journeys I do not allow many people to walk beside you, not because you have been forgotten, but because what I am forming within you requires a sacred solitude, a place where you learn to hear my voice more clearly than the voice of the crowd. Slow seasons are not always delays. Sometimes they are silent furnaces, where roots grow deep before branches rise high. Empty spaces without answers are not proof that I am silent. Often, within those very spaces, I am teaching you how to trust without needing to hold the entire map in your hands. All things work together for good to those who love God. As Romans 8:28 declares, does not mean that everything you experience will feel pleasant, but it does mean that nothing placed into my hands remains useless. Your tears, your waiting, the moments when you rose again while your heart still trembled, all of it is being woven by me into a story far greater than what you are able to see today. Do not despise the cracks within yourself. Beloved child, the world often tells you to hide them, to pretend you have never hurt, never broken, never had to gather the scattered pieces of your soul in the darkness. But I do not look upon those cracks as signs of final ruin. In my hands, the places that were fractured can become pathways through which light enters. Paul himself declared that we have this treasure in jars of clay in 2 Corinthians 4:7, so that the surpassing greatness of the power would be known to come from me and not from your own strength. You are that jar of clay, fragile, yet never worthless. You may have been chipped by rejection, misunderstanding, and long nights no one ever saw. But the treasure I placed within you has not diminished because the clay once trembled. And when light shines through those cracks, others will not merely see that you became strong, they will see that I remained faithful. There are lessons I cannot teach you inside places of perfect comfort, because some depths only open when your soul is forced to cling to me. That does not mean I delight in your suffering. No, I was near you every time you swallowed your tears just to keep walking. Every time you were misunderstood without being given the chance to explain yourself. Every time you felt left behind while others seemed to move ahead so quickly. Those who sow in tears shall reap with songs of joy. As Psalm 5 declares, is not a phrase meant to minimize your pain, but a promise that tears placed into my hands never fall uselessly to the ground. Some tears will become mercy. Some dark nights will become wisdom. Some wounds will become the ability to sit beside a broken soul without judging them, because you yourself once knew how deeply that pain could cut. Remember, Gideon, beloved child, when I called him, he was not standing boldly upon a battlefield, but threshing wheat in hiding because he feared the enemy. In his own eyes, he was small, weak, and from an insignificant family. Yet I called him a mighty warrior before he ever felt mighty. I saw what I would do through him. not merely what he saw within himself. And when the time came for me to use him to deliver his people, I did not give him a vast army according to human ideas of victory. I reduced the numbers, and then used trumpets, clay jars, and torches to reveal my power. When the clay jars were broken, the light hidden within them burst forth into the night. Do you see? Beloved, sometimes what you call brokenness is actually the very moment the light I placed inside you becomes most visible. I do not need you to become a flawless vessel before I can use you. I need you to remain in my hands. Obey my voice, and allow my light to shine through even the places that once filled you with shame. Therefore, do not make yourself smaller just to fit within the narrow acceptance of the world. Do not dim your light because someone else feels uncomfortable with the life returning within you. The light I placed inside you is not meant for self-glory, nor for elevating yourself above others, but so that those who are lost may realize there is still a way home. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it, as John 1:5 reminds you. For true light does not need to shout in order to defeat darkness. It only needs to continue existing. You will shine not through perfection, but through humility that has been healed, not through appearing unwounded, but through a heart that has allowed me to turn wounds into compassion, loneliness into depth, and silence into quiet testimony. Perhaps today you still cannot clearly see the final shape of your life. You are still in the middle of the process, like clay, still soft upon the potter's wheel, not yet formed into its finished vessel. But I am the patient potter, and you are the clay in my hands. We are the clay, and you are our potter. As Isaiah 64:8 declares, I do not cast you aside because you are not yet complete. I do not despise you because there were seasons when you were soft, easily shaped, easily brought to tears by things others considered small. That very softness, when surrendered to me, becomes what allows you to be formed according to my better purpose. What wounded you yesterday may tomorrow become the place from which you lift up another soul. What you do not understand today may one day become the brightest part of your testimony. What you thought was an ending may simply be the moment I am turning the vessel in my hands to shape a deeper and more beautiful design within it. Be courageous enough to keep walking, beloved child, but do not walk under the pressure of needing to understand everything. Faith is not moving forward only when you can already see the entire road. Faith is taking my hand when there is only enough light for the next step before you. When Abraham heard my call, he left the familiar before he fully knew the land to which he was being led. His obedience opened the way for a promise far greater than the vision he possessed at the beginning. So it is with you. Every step you take in trust will awaken another part of the path I have already prepared. When you dare to place what is broken into my hands, I do not merely repair it so it resembles what it once was. I create something new, purer, deeper, carrying the mark of grace more clearly than before. Stop calling your life meaningless. No road you have walked has ever been outside my sight. No tear has ever been forgotten by me. No season of silence is beyond becoming holy ground when you place it into my hands. You are loved, protected, and set apart not to live small beneath shame, but to become a humble lamp in the long night, a vessel once cracked yet filled with light, a living testimony that in my hands even suffering can be redeemed and transformed into gentle glory. Beloved child, do not rush to call everything leaving your life a loss, for not everything that slips from your hands is something I remove in anger. There are things you once held tightly because you believed that without them you would no longer know who you were, yet in truth, those very things were quietly binding your feet, keeping your soul inside a room far too small for what I intended for you. There are doors that closed and caused you to weep, but if you look through my light, You will understand that those doors were not shut to keep you outside of blessing, but to prevent you from returning to places whose season had already ended. There is a time to keep and a time to cast away, as Ecclesiastes 3:6 reminds you. For wisdom is not only knowing how to treasure something, but also knowing when to release it. You do not lose yourself by letting go of what no longer nourishes life. Often it is precisely there that you begin to rediscover the true self I placed within you. I know that letting go is never easy for a heart that is loved deeply. I know there were moments when you stood before certain separations with tears in your eyes, trying to appear calm while inwardly feeling as though something had been torn out of your soul. I do not dismiss that pain. I do not ask you to smile through every breaking as though you were without flesh, without memories, without hopes you once cherished. But beloved child, a gardener does not prune a tree because he desires to harm it. He cuts away what must be cut so that life will not be wasted where fruit no longer grows. When my son declared that every fruitful branch is pruned by the Father so it may bear more fruit, in John 15:2, those words speak not only of pain, but also of trust. The hand that prunes may cause sorrow for a season, yet it is still the hand of the one who already sees the harvest that is coming. There are relationships that must step back from your life, so you may learn that your worth does not rest in the presence of any person apart from me. There are dreams that must break apart, so you may realize that what you asked for was sometimes far smaller than what I desired to give you. There are places that once made you feel you belonged, but later became old garments that no longer fit the soul I had expanded within you. You do not need to hate those things. You do not need to deny that they once mattered deeply. Give thanks that they were once part of your journey, and then leave them in my hands, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to those things which are ahead. As Philippians 3:13 says, is not a command to erase your memories, but an invitation not to let old memories govern your new steps. Remember Ruth, beloved child. She walked through a very quiet kind of loss, the loss of her husband, the loss of stability, standing before an uncertain future alongside Naomi, a mother-in-law carrying bitterness within her own heart. To human eyes, Ruth's story could have ended in the sorrow of a widowed woman in the land of Moab. Yet Ruth chose to walk in faithfulness, leaving behind what was familiar to follow Naomi to Bethlehem. Even though she did not know what awaited her there, she did not walk in grandeur, but in humble love. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. As Ruth 1:16 declares. Do you see? Beloved, sometimes a new life begins not with the sound of triumphant trumpets, but with a faithful decision made among ashes. And from the poor field where Ruth gathered leftover grain, I opened the way for her to meet Boaz. And from that lineage, David himself would one day be born. What you believe is merely a season of loss may quietly be leading toward a stream of blessing greater than you can yet imagine. Therefore, do not fear the seasons in which I empty certain things from your life. Emptiness is not always a sign that you have been abandoned. Sometimes it is the space I am preparing so that something new may enter. A vessel already full of old things has no room for new wine. A room crowded with old noise struggles to hear my whisper. When I remove certain things from your life, I am not making your soul poorer. I am freeing you from dependencies you mistook for love, from pathways you mistook for safety, from dreams that quietly became idols within your heart. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful later on. However, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace. As Hebrews 12:11 says, and you will understand those words more clearly when you look back at the things that once made you weep, but ultimately set you free. There were moments when you became so weary that you no longer had the strength to pray long prayers. All you could offer were sighs, silence, and the longing for someone to understand how exhausted you truly were inside. I do not despise that condition. I do not meet you only in days when you are full of fire, full of faith, full of strength to keep moving. I also meet you when you are drained, when you no longer wish to explain yourself, when even past victories cannot keep your heart from collapsing inward. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted. In Psalm 34, 18, is the word I place over the days when you cannot stand as firmly as before. I do not always restore you through dramatic moments. Often I nourish you through a small measure of peace in the morning, a verse arriving at the right time, a quiet person remaining beside you, a deep sleep after many restless nights. My gentleness is also power. Beloved child, and one day you will realize that what I pruned away did not make you smaller, it made you truer, deeper, freer. What departed exposed the roots that still needed healing. What closed forced you to notice doors you had once ignored. What broke apart taught you to stop placing your ultimate hope in things that can change. I do not tear apart your life only to leave you abandoned among ruins. I am the one who makes all things new, as Revelation 21:5 declares. And the newness I bring is not merely paint spread over cracks, but restoration beginning from the foundation of the soul itself. Let me take the empty places you fear most and transform them into the places where my presence becomes most clearly known. Beloved child, walk through this season of letting go with the trust that I am still holding the pruning shears with love, not with abandonment. Do not cling to what I am gently loosening from your hands. Do not run back toward doors I have closed simply because the hallway ahead still feels unfamiliar. I know you are hurting, but I also know you will bear fruit. I know you grieve, but I also know what will truly set you free. I know you cannot yet see the harvest, but I have already seen the field. Let the tears of today water the ground I am preparing. Let the empty spaces become the places where new seeds are planted. And remember this, you are not being lost while I prune you. You are being preserved so that you may become the very shape my love intended for you from the beginning. Beloved child, there are things within you that the world has been too quick to call weakness simply because people were never quiet enough to understand their depth. They see how easily your heart is moved by a single sentence, how you fall silent before another person's pain, how deeply you sense things others pass by without noticing, and they call you fragile. But I tell you this, not every sensitivity is a fracture of the soul. Often it is a doorway I placed within you so that love, mercy, and discernment may enter more deeply. A heart of stone may not feel pain, but it also cannot tremble before what is holy. I declared, I will remove the heart of stone from you and give you a heart of flesh. In Ezekiel 36:26. Because what I desire for you is not a numb life incapable of being wounded, but a heart soft enough to hear me, soft enough to love, soft enough to recognize light even when it arrives as only the faintest whisper. Do not allow shallow judgments to make you shrink what I have placed inside you, and there will come a day when you look back upon the roads that once filled you with shame and no longer lower your face as you once did. Not because the past suddenly becomes light, nor because what happened no longer hurts, but because my light will reveal to you a deeper meaning hidden beneath the seasons that once seemed made only of brokenness. Some failures taught you humility. Some rejections separated you from places that no longer belong to your destiny. Some dead ends before which you once wept will later be revealed as the very places that forced you back toward me, back toward truth, back toward the part of your soul you had forgotten. Those who sow in tears shall reap with songs of joy. Psalm 126, 5 declares, is not a false color painted over pain. It is the promise that tears placed into my hands are never wasted. I can take the very places where you once fell and build within you a strength you never possessed before. Do not be afraid if today you still find yourself in the middle of the process, unable to see the final shape of what I am doing. A seed buried beneath the soil cannot see the sky, cannot hear the praise of people, cannot know when its first shoot will break through the darkness. Yet in that hidden place, life is already unfolding. So it is with you. There are works I am doing within you that cannot be measured by daily emotions, cannot be proven by outward signs, cannot yet be explained to those who see only the surface. God gives the increase. As 1 Corinthians 3:7 reminds you, for the deepest growth does not come from your striving, but from my quiet hand at work. Therefore, do not panic because you do not yet understand everything. Do not conclude that you are standing still simply because you cannot yet see flowers blooming. Roots often grow in darkness before the tree is ever seen in the light. Remember Hannah, beloved child. She carried within herself a sorrow that those around her could not understand. Her barrenness was not merely an outward circumstance, but a hidden wound that caused her to be mocked, misunderstood, and left weeping in silence many times. When she prayed in the temple, her lips moved, though no sound came out, so much so that the priest Eli thought she was drunk. Do you see? Beloved, some pains run so deep that even the way you express them is misunderstood by others. But I heard that voiceless prayer. I saw her heart when no one else could rightly interpret her tears. And from the place that once seemed filled only with shame, I gave Samuel, a prophet set apart for his generation. Therefore, when others fail to understand your depth, do not quickly believe that I fail to understand it too. The Lord does not see as man sees. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. As 1 Samuel 16:7 declares, perhaps the most painful things in your life are not the worst things. Beloved child, if they are placed into my hands, I do not say this to diminish the nights when you could barely breathe, nor do I ask you to call your wounds blessings while they are still bleeding. But I want you to know that I have the power to redeem what once seemed determined to destroy you. There were parts of your old self that needed to be broken apart, not so you would lose your dignity, but so a new heart could have room to be formed. There were defenses that once helped you survive, but later prevented you from receiving love. There were dreams that were once beautiful, but if they became the place where you placed your entire identity, I would gently loosen them from your grasp so that you would not worship the gift more than the giver. For I know the plans I have for you, plans for peace and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. In Jeremiah 27:7 still stands firm, even when you cannot yet see that future taking shape. And then, as healing takes deeper root within you, you will no longer live merely trying to escape your memories. You will no longer wake each morning with the single task of forgetting what has happened. I will teach you a different kind of peace, the peace of someone who can look back without being consumed. Remember, without remaining chained. Speak of their story not to awaken shame again, but to testify to grace. If anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. In 2 Corinthians 5:17 does not mean your memories are erased from you, but that their power over you has been transformed. What once ruled you will become something I use to teach you compassion. What once filled you with fear will become the place where you learn to pray more deeply. What once convinced you that you had no value will become proof that my love never abandoned you in any season of your life. Therefore, beloved child, do not apologize because your soul is deeper than the narrow patterns of this world. Do not despise the heart that trembles at the fragility of others. Do not call your uniqueness a burden if I placed it within you as part of your calling. Someone who has never watched the sun rise beyond the mountains may think light is ordinary. Someone who has never walked through a long night will not understand why dawn can make another person weep. But you have passed through your own depths, and I will not allow those journeys to become meaningless. When the time comes, you will emerge not as someone dragged endlessly by the past, but as a soul refined, gentle yet not easily broken, deep yet not swallowed by darkness, sensitive yet filled with holy strength. Continue allowing me to work within you. What you do not understand today will one day be brought fully into the light. And when you look back, you will see that I was always there, quietly transforming sorrowful pages into testimony, turning wounds into windows for grace, and making your life into a gentle light that darkness cannot extinguish. Beloved child, when I look at a child, I often see in their eyes something many adults have long forgotten: the openness of the soul. A child knows how to look toward the sky without feeling too small to dream, how to love before learning to calculate everything, how to trust before being taught to doubt every voice around them. There are souls I send into this world with the ability to feel deeply, with hearts easily moved by beauty, with longings that refuse to remain trapped inside the narrow boxes of ordinary living. But as the years pass, the words of the world begin covering that original light with dust. People tell you not to think too differently, not to love too sincerely, not to feel too deeply, not to step outside the path accepted by the crowd. And slowly, many souls learn to make themselves smaller in order to feel safe. Like a lamp hidden beneath a basket because it fears its light might make others uncomfortable. But I never created you for a life of shrinking inward like that. When my son declared, "Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a basket," in Matthew 5:15, those words were not only about ministry or public visibility, they were also a reminder that the light I placed within you does not need permission in order to exist. Do not be afraid when you realize you cannot completely blend into the crowd. Beloved child, there are souls called to walk differently, not because they are greater than others, but because the voice within them will not allow them to live forever inside what is false. An eagle does not fly low simply to fit among sparrows. It was created for different winds. A seed cannot bloom if it clings forever to its old shell, out of fear of the darkness beneath the soil. And so it is with you. If you continue living only to satisfy the expectations in the eyes around you, you will slowly lose the true voice I placed within your heart from the beginning. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. As Romans 12:2 teaches, because I did not call you to become a pale imitation of someone else. I called you to step into the unique shape I designed for your soul. There may be stretches of road that feel very lonely. There may be moments when you stand among many people, yet still feel that you do not belong to the things they are chasing after. There may be times when you ask yourself why you cannot simply live like everyone else so that you might hurt less, think less, feel less different. But beloved child, that loneliness is not always a sign that I have moved away from you. Often it is the space I clear so that my voice may sound louder than the noise of the world. Moses had to walk through the wilderness for many years before standing before the burning bush. David learned to play the harp and poured out tears in the fields long before wearing a crown. Even my son often withdrew into lonely places to pray while crowds pressed around him. There are things I can only plant within your soul when the noise around you grows quiet. Therefore, do not call every silence abandonment. Sometimes it is the place where I am deepening your roots before bringing you into a season of fruitfulness. Remember Joseph, beloved child. When he was young, he carried within him dreams so large that even his own brothers could not understand them. What he saw in his spirit was interpreted by others as naivety or pride. Then he was sold, betrayed, and forgotten in prison, seen through human eyes. His journey appeared to be nothing but loss and loneliness. But I never forgot what I had placed within him. It was precisely in those seasons when he was separated from the crowd, led into places no one else could understand, that I shaped within Joseph the wisdom, humility, and steadfastness necessary for the greater destiny ahead of him. And at the appointed time, the very thing others once considered strange about him became the key that saved many lives during famine. Do you see? Beloved, there are things within you today that are misunderstood, called too much or too different. But in my hands, those very things may become the place from which life flows to others in their appointed season. I also want you to understand this. Your life will heal others more than you realize. Not through long sermons or through trying to prove how strong you are, but through the simple courage of living honestly within the light I have given you. Someone who has spent years shrinking themselves in order to be loved will begin opening their heart when they see that you are no longer ashamed of your difference. A soul that once believed they were too sensitive will stop hating themselves when they see you using that sensitivity to love, to show compassion, to listen to the things others overlook. You are the letter of Christ. As 2 Corinthians 3:3 says, and many times your transformed life will speak louder than 1,000 sermons. True light does not need to shout in order to prove it is light. It simply remains faithfully present, and the darkness begins to retreat. But I know there will still be days when you doubt yourself. There will be nights when the old words of others return like a cold wind passing through your memory, that you are too weak, too different, too dreamy, too hard to understand. Sometimes even you will wonder whether you are walking the wrong way simply because you do not resemble the crowd. And when that happens, I want you to remember that the voice which defines your identity is not the voice of the crowd, nor the voice of old fear inside your mind. The most important voice is the voice of the one who created you before the world ever placed any label upon your soul. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. In Isaiah 43:1 is the word I want to engrave deeply within your heart. You do not belong to the evaluations that shift with human emotion. You belong to me. Therefore, do not keep apologizing simply because you carry a light that differs from those around you. Do not force yourself to become smaller just to be more easily accepted. I do not need you to become an echo of the crowd. I want you to become the true voice I placed within your heart from the beginning. Let your heart continue to feel deeply without shame. Let your soul continue to tremble before beauty without accusing yourself of being too much. Let the light I placed within you breathe. For the world does not need more souls who have learned to turn themselves off in order to blend in. The world needs people who dare to live in truth, who dare to love without excessive self-protection, who dare to walk in my gentle light even when not everyone understands them. Beloved child, I did not call you to become like everyone else. I called you to become truly yourself in me. And when you stop hiding from what I have placed within you, you will no longer live under the fear of rejection. You will walk with the peace of one who knows they have been called by a love greater than every judgment spoken against them. One day, you will look back and understand that what made you different was not a burden to conceal, but a gift to be purified and placed into my hands. Then the light within you will no longer tremble in fear. It will burn softly, humbly, and steadily like a lamp set upon a stand, not seeking display, but bright enough to guide other souls wandering through the long night. Beloved child, do not tell yourself that if you keep stepping back, someone else will simply rise up in your place and leave no emptiness behind. Yes, my will is not hindered by human weakness, and I can use many vessels to accomplish what I have ordained. But what I have placed within your life carries a tone of its own, one that no other soul can fully imitate. A great piece of music may continue if one instrument falls silent. but the conductor still knows that the harmony is missing, a note created uniquely for that place. So it is with you, beloved. There are people who will never be touched in quite the same way if you continue hiding your light in fear. There are souls waiting to see someone walk forward while still trembling yet remaining faithful, so they may know that hope is not only for those who were strong from the beginning. As each one has received a gift, use it to serve one another. As it Peter 5:10 reminds you, because what I have entrusted to you was not given for you to keep to yourself, but to become a stream of life flowing toward others. I know there are times when you think you are not good enough to begin. You look at your shortcomings, your stumbles, and the limitations still present within you, then conclude that perhaps I called the wrong person. But beloved child, I have never waited for a perfect soul before calling it to walk forward. If that were so, no one would be qualified to stand before me. When I called Moses, he did not stand before me with blazing confidence. He trembled before the burning bush and repeatedly searched for reasons to step back. He looked at the weakness of his own speech and forgot to look at the one who was sending him. But I declared, I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall speak. In Exodus 4:12, do you see? I did not deny his weakness. I simply showed him that my presence was greater than what he lacked. Many times, the very place that makes you believe you are unfit is where I desire to reveal my power most clearly. Remember, young David, beloved child, when the prophet Samuel came to anoint the future king, everyone assumed the tall and powerful brothers would surely be chosen. David was not even called in at first. He was outside in the fields with the sheep, unnoticed in the eyes of many. But I saw what others could not see. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. In et Samuel Sexton, Shu, is how I look at you today. I do not choose according to the standards the world exalts. I see the heart willing to answer my call, the soul still soft before truth, the person willing to step forward even while trembling. And it was that same shepherd boy, considered small and insignificant, who stood before Goliath while older warriors were paralyzed by fear. David did not overcome because he felt no fear within himself. He overcame because he believed that I, who was with him, was greater than the fear standing before him. You often think strength must come first before you can obey. But in my kingdom, obedience itself often opens the door to the strength you lack. Joshua had to place his feet into the river before the Jordan parted. Peter had to step out of the boat before he discovered he could walk upon the water. The woman with the issue of blood had to press through the crowd to touch my garment before healing flowed into her body. There are doors that only open when you dare to move forward in faith, even when the light ahead is sufficient only for the next step. The righteous shall live by faith. As Romans 1:17 declares, does not mean they no longer feel fear. It means they refuse to let fear decide the direction of their lives. Do not think you must erase every doubt before you are worthy for me to use. Jeremiah also once said he was too young, too inexperienced, too small for the burden placed before him. But I touched his lips and declared, do not say, I am only a youth. In Jeremiah 7:2, I did not ask him to pretend he was not weak. I simply refused to let weakness define his future. So it is with you. Perhaps today you still feel you are not wise enough, not strong enough, not healed enough to help others. But if you wait until the day you are completely free from fear, you will miss the seasons in which I desire to teach you how to walk in dependence upon me. I am not searching for those who are confident in themselves. I am searching for those who know how to hold my hand while their own feet are still shaking. There are souls out there who need your story specifically, not the polished version you try to construct, but the real story that you were once weary, doubtful, and ready to give up. Yet I held you through it all. A person drowning in shame will find hope when they see you continue walking despite your wounds. Someone who believes they are too weak to be used will begin to heal when they witness me moving through your life. You are the body of Christ, and each one of you is a member of it. As 1 Corinthians 12:27 reminds you, meaning no one is meaningless within my plan. If one part of the body falls silent because of insecurity, the whole body lacks something that was meant to be given. Therefore, stop delaying what I am placing within your heart. Delay does not always wear the face of rebellion. Many times it wears the face of fear, of feeling inadequate, of believing tomorrow you will somehow be more ready than you are today. But beloved child, many things I desire to form within you can only be shaped while you walk with me, not while you remain still waiting to become perfect. A child does not learn to walk by sitting endlessly and studying every step. The child learns by rising again after every fall. That is how I am teaching you as well. For it is God who works in you both to will and to act according to his good pleasure. In Philippians 2:13, even the desire within you to return, to obey, to begin again, is already a sign that I am working inside you. Beloved child, what I need from you is not a self-made strength filled with pride. I desire a heart that says, Father, I am still afraid, but I will walk with you. That is where miracles begin. That is where the journey of maturity opens. And as you walk in this way, you will discover that true strength is not never being weak. True strength is knowing whose hand is holding yours in the midst of every weakness. One day, when you look back, you will realize that I did not only use the moments when you felt confident, I also used the moments when you trembled yet still obeyed. I used even the small steps you thought were insignificant. And those very steps led you into the destiny my love had prepared for you long ago, not so that you would be exalted, but so that my light within you would become a pathway for many other souls wandering through the long night. Beloved child, there have been years when you looked at your limitations as though they were proof that you were not enough to be used, not enough to be loved, not enough to step into something greater. You looked at the fragile places within yourself and assumed that I could only work through people who were stronger, more gifted, more stable than you. But listen carefully to me. I do not choose you in spite of those cracks, as though I were reluctantly tolerating them. Many times, the very place where you feel weakest is the place where I desire to reveal my power most clearly. If everything came from human perfection and ability, people would exalt themselves and forget the true source of life. That is why I often place heavenly treasure inside jars of clay, so that when the light shines forth, everyone will know the wonder did not originate from the greatness of the vessel, but from the one dwelling within it. We have this treasure in jars of clay. As 2 Coríntios 4:7 declares, and you are such a vessel, fragile, yet chosen, trembling, yet carrying something holy within you. Moses once believed the slowness of his speech was reason enough for me to choose someone else. He looked more at his fear and awkwardness than at my presence. But I did not call him because he spoke like the eloquent rulers of Egypt. I called him because he was soft enough to finally realize how deeply he needed me. David, too, was not seen by others as a future king. He was merely the youngest son out in the fields with the sheep, forgotten while his family stood before the prophet. Yet I saw what others could not see. I saw a heart that loved my presence in the lonely fields. Peter was the same, impulsive, quick to speak, stumbling again and again because of his own words. He stepped onto the water only to sink in fear, boldly promised loyalty, and then denied me in the darkness of night. Yet I still called him, not because he had never failed, but because beneath all that impulsiveness was a heart that truly loved me. Do you see? Beloved, I am not searching for souls who have never stumbled. I am searching for souls willing to let me transform them. Remember Gideon, beloved child. When I sent my angel to call him a mighty warrior, he was hiding in secret out of fear of the enemy. He saw himself through the eyes of insecurity. His family was insignificant, and he believed there was nothing remarkable about him. But I called him according to what he could not yet see within himself. So it is with you. Perhaps all you can see are delays, failures, unhealed places, and fears still living inside you. But I see more than your present condition. I see the person gradually being formed through every season in which you learn to trust me. My power is made perfect in weakness. As 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, is not merely comfort for failure. It is one of the secrets of my kingdom. When you know you are weak, you will learn dependence. And when you learn dependence, I can accomplish through you what your own strength could never achieve. Therefore, stop defining yourself by the labels the world once placed upon you. Perhaps someone once told you that you were not good enough, not intelligent enough, not special enough, not strong enough to become anything meaningful. Perhaps those words remained in your heart so long that you eventually began calling them truth. But, beloved child, no voice has the authority to determine your identity except the voice of the one who created you. The world may call you by the last failure it witnessed, but I call you by the destiny I planted within you before you were born. The world may remember the seasons when you lost your way, but I see the entire journey through which I am leading you home again. I have loved you with an everlasting love. In Jeremiah 20:23 is not a promise built upon your performance. It flows from my very nature. My love does not change according to the moods of the crowd, nor does it withdraw when you pass through seasons of weakness. You do not lose your value simply because there were seasons when you did not fully live according to what I called you to be. A coin fallen into the mud does not lose its nature. It only needs to be lifted up and cleansed. So it is with you. Perhaps you have passed through seasons that made you question everything, question your calling, question your future, question whether your life could still be used for anything beautiful or good. But my view of you has never changed. I have called you by your name, you are mine. As Isaiah 43:1 declares, still stands firmly over your life, even in the days when you felt most lost. You do not belong to your mistakes. You do not belong to the words that made you shrink within yourself. You belong to me, and the day will come when you stop living merely to become the version of yourself that others find easiest to accept. You will no longer wake each morning haunted by the need to prove your worth through human approval. You will begin to walk in the quiet freedom of one who knows they are loved before accomplishing anything great. And when that happens, your soul will unfold like a flower, finally daring to open after a long winter. No longer curled inward in fear, no longer apologizing for your light, no longer trying to transform yourself into a copy of someone else. If the sun sets you free, you shall be free indeed. As John 8:36 says, and that freedom is not the freedom to do whatever you desire, it is the freedom to become who I created you to be. You will come to understand that you were not born to dissolve into the crowd like a faint echo. I created you to reflect a unique portion of heaven's beauty upon the earth. Some reflect gentleness. Some reflect courage. Some reflect mercy. And some reflect faithfulness through long and difficult seasons. And you also carry a distinct shade within my light. If you continue hiding that because you fear being different, then the world will lose a beauty that only your life was meant to reveal. You are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation. As 1 Peter 2:9 reminds you, not as a title for pride, but as a reminder that you have been set apart for something higher than merely surviving from day to day. Therefore, beloved child, Stop despising your own fragility. Stop looking at your cracks as proof that you are useless. Stop calling your uniqueness a burden that must be hidden away. Place everything into my hands, both your light and your darkness, both your strength and your fears, both the parts of yourself you are proud of and the parts you still feel ashamed of. I do not need a version of you pretending to be perfect. I want the real you. And when you allow me to touch that truth, I will do what only I can do. Turn a clay vessel into a dwelling place for glory. Turn someone who once doubted themselves into a source of hope for others. And turn your life into a living testimony that my grace is stronger than every limitation the world once placed upon you.